Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a Fantastic Four Omnibus, the one by Mark Millar and Bryan Hitch. So without further ado, let's take a look at this book. Here is the cover of the book. This is the one that I went with. I just like that we got the whole cast and we got everyone using their powers. Here is the spine of the book, and I like the doom that they've got here on the spine, but I do think it's a little funny that when you put this book on your shelf, it just looks like there's so much text on this omnibus. And here is the back of the book, which says the Fantastic Four go widescreen, and it's got some pretty great artwork of the whole team. Okay, so this omnibus collects Fantastic Four number 554 through 569, and also annual number 32, and then also Fantastic Force, a 2009 series, 1 through 4, and Marvel 1985, 1 through 6. Okay, let's talk about the content of this 784-page return to Marvel's First Family. So as I mentioned, this is from Mark Millar and Bryan Hitch, and I do have to say up front that I've always been pretty lukewarm to completely miss on Mark Millar, so not the biggest fan, so that may influence my opinions a little bit. But yeah, so this is definitely more of a story of the week style run, rather than being a run with a major plot going throughout, or building up to some kind of major threat or anything like that. It is generally just quick little sci-fi episodes and then on to the next. For example, we start the omnibus off with Reed Richards finding out, via an old flame funny enough, that the world is rapidly decaying because of man-made interference, and she's been working on a new world, quite literally because the new world is called New World, and she's trying to recruit Reed Richards to help with it. And that eventually rabbit holes into this giant, Pacific Rim style mech versus mech fight that, if I'm recalling correctly, is on the lawn of the White House. So that would happen, and then we'd move on to the next story, and maybe there was some stuff that carries forward from that, but not too much, nothing that was major. And yeah, that's kind of my key takeaway from this omnibus, is that most of the stories I thought were pretty fun, but nothing left a significant impression on me, and there was nothing that I'd be super eager to revisit. And I don't mean to disparage it at all either. It's truly fine in terms of Fantastic Four runs, but it's hard not to compare them to some of the more pivotal and captivating runs like Hickman's or Mark Waid's, which are both great, and you should check both of those out if you're a big fan of the Fantastic Four or you want to get into them. The character dynamics in this run are pretty much there, but they don't go into it as much as I'd like. The sci-fi ideas are pretty cool, but they don't mean as much as I'd like. And it also just feels like there's a key ingredient missing in the book, and I don't even think it is the fact that there isn't some connective plot. I just can't exactly pinpoint what it is, though. Maybe a lack of true thematic focus. I don't know, who knows? I'm open to your thoughts on it, or if you think I'm wrong, I'm open to hearing your perspective as well. The artwork here is super solid, though. This book was a little more fun to look at than it was to read, I'd say. There's a definite charm to the art, and Hitch does a really fantastic job here showcasing action and emotion and everything. And of course, as with any Fantastic Four book, we've got Doom in here too. I mean, seriously, is there a Fantastic Four Omnibus that does not include him at some point? I think it's kind of just a requirement, probably from Marvel editorial, honestly, that Doom make his appearance in Fantastic Four runs. I guess he is just a key character too. He's not always a villain. Anyway, it's a slightly different take on your typical Doom story in here, which I liked in theory, but it also felt like it took some agency away from Doom, and I don't know, I thought honestly, Doom seemed slightly written out of character, which is frankly one of the very few times I felt that. Doom has such a unique and specific voice and presence that I feel like most writers usually completely nail that. And again, I'm not trying to put the book down or its creators down. I appreciate trying to do something different with a character, but it doesn't always work quite right, and Doom still had some pretty cool moments and some great art shots in here though, so, Doom fans, don't feel too slighted by this run if you don't particularly like what they did with it. There's also just some absolutely wild plot lines in here that are wild, not necessarily in a good way, but also not wild in a bad way. It was just oh, what were we thinking here? This is something to witness, and I'm particularly thinking about the annual that we get towards the end of this omnibus, which The premise is essentially this woman comes to the Baxter building, which is the headquarters for the Fantastic Four, if you didn't know that. And, Johnny's been trying to avoid her. He is not answering calls from this woman. And yeah, she's come to the Baxter building. And they sort of pinpoint that, like, oh, our security system identified that this woman is pregnant. So, Johnny, the reason that she's looking for you is likely because you impregnated her and, you're gonna be a daddy. But Johnny is like, I don't even really remember sleeping with this woman, so I don't see how that can really be the case. But also, I'm Johnny Storm, and I've got kind of a rock star personality, and I go out drinking, I go out clubbing, I go do all this stuff, so it's possible that I got so drunk and I didn't remember this incident, and now it's coming back to haunt me or something like that. And as the annual progresses, it starts to get way more sci-fi, and it starts to get way more superhero. But essentially what we learn, and I promise you this is not a big spoiler, and I promise you that the issue itself is not that captivating once this revelation happens and they start trying to fix it. But what happens is that Johnny and this woman was the victim of artificial insemination from a sample that was stolen from Johnny, and it's just, like I said, it is just such an intriguing plot to pitch and to create. It makes you wonder about some things, I guess. I don't know. I realize I'm not saying too much of substance here, but I was just sort of, I don't know, enamored, interested, confused by this annual. I also do want to add that the one relationship that I thought was most captivating to me in this book was actually the Thing and the dynamic that he had with his girlfriend that he meets in this book when he goes to I don't know if it's, I think it's an elementary school that he goes to visit with Reed Richards to just talk about some things and sort of show off some of their tech and whatnot. It's kind of just like a normal, we're coming to your school to show you a presentation about what we do. And Ben meets one of the staff members there, and he starts a relationship with her. And that was all just very interesting to me because she has a very jealous ex, and there was media involved in this. But eventually, they end up getting engaged, and there's going to be a wedding. And then, of course, with Marvel, it's always, is the wedding going to happen? Is the wedding not going to happen? And I won't spoil that for you. But that stuff I did genuinely enjoy, and there was also some really nice cameos from other heroes in there. Just very, very quick ones, but just to cement an idea that dating a superhero and being with a superhero involves sacrificing a lot of the freedom in your life and a lot of the other aspects of your life, because you'll always sort of have this target painted on you. There is also this Fantastic Force run in the end of this book, which is a callback to an older series, I think, or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say about that one. It seemed tagged on the end, and it also wasn't super memorable or of interest to me. So yeah, overall, it was a decent read. It was a light read too, very quick. Would I recommend it to somebody interested in the Fantastic Four? Probably not, unless you really, really love this team and you're a die-hard Fantastic Four fan who just has to consume every piece of Fantastic Four material out there, sort of like how I am with the X-Men. But otherwise, it's probably not for you, and you'll probably get a little bored at some points in the book, or just get bored with sort of the week-to-week thing, I think, since some of them are a lot better than others, and it's pretty obvious. Especially considering the omnibus format where you're reading them one after another. I'm sure when this was coming out in whatever kind of time span it came out, it was less obvious when there was a dip in quality, but here you can really, really tell when that does happen. I will say, however, I did like this much better than I liked the Ultimates by Mark Millar, which is not really saying much because I really, really dislike the Ultimates too, but maybe Millar's style is just not for me. But let me know what you guys think about this omnibus. Let me know what you think about this run. Is this something that sounds of interest to you? Is this one that you were looking into? If you've read it, did you enjoy it? So on and so forth. Leave a like, comment, and a subscribe, and you all have a great rest of your week.